Hi, welcome back to my kitchen, where today we are making the most delicious, very nostalgic powdered sugar donut cake. So our brown butter is all done. What a beauty! Amazing. Just like magic, you guys. Okay, remember when you were a kid on Saturday mornings and you'd be watching cartoons and eating those tiny little powdered sugar donuts, one after the other until they were all gone? They were so good. Well, today we are recreating the same flavor of those classic powdered sugar donuts, but in cake form. It's like a giant donut, and you're gonna love it. So this recipe is perfect for lazy Saturday mornings, holiday brunches, or just whenever you feel like having breakfast for dessert, which for me is all the time. I promise you this cake won't last long. It's perfect for snacking on all day, and the kids will love it with a glass of milk. I personally love it with a morning latte. To make this cake, you'll need a simple tube pan. They're easy to find at most home stores, or you can order one online. You wanna make sure that it's a two-piece pan so that it comes apart in two pieces. If you don't have a tube pan, you could also use a regular bundt pan, or you can even bake the cake in a 9x13 rectangular pan. Any way you make it, it's gonna be delicious. I personally like my donut cakes to be round with a hole in the middle, but they'll be equally delicious if you make it in a rectangle form. Okay, so let's talk about what we need to make this cake. You're just gonna need some very basic ingredients that you probably already have in your pantry. We need all-purpose flour, 3 eggs, granulated sugar. We're gonna use baking soda and baking powder, whole milk, sour cream. You wanna make sure to use full-fat sour cream. We have our unsalted butter, salt, vanilla, and nutmeg. The nutmeg is what gives this cake that signature donut flavor that we all know and love, so don't skip the nutmeg. And for the top of the cake, we'll need melted butter and lots of powdered sugar. I like to sift the powdered sugar first so it's free of all those little lumps and bumps, but we'll get to that when the cake is baked. Let's talk about our dairy ingredients for just a second. In addition to having your butter at room temperature, you also want to make sure that your eggs, your whole milk, and your sour cream are all at room temperature. Cold ingredients do not incorporate well into your batter, and it can dramatically alter the final texture of your cake. So for the butter, you want to set it out about an hour before baking. You can also cube it up or even run it through a box grater to speed along the process. If you want to bring your eggs to room temperature in a hurry, just place them in a bowl of warm water for 10 minutes before mixing. And for the milk and the sour cream, I usually just zap them in the microwave for about 10 seconds to get them to room temperature. To make this cake, we're going to use a stand mixer. You can also use a hand mixer and a bowl, but I like to use a stand mixer because it really gets that butter and sugar cream together nicely. So we're just going to take our stand mixer, lean it up, and you want to make sure that you have the paddle attachment on your mixer rather than the whisk attachment. We're going to add our 3/4 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature to the bowl. And we're also going to add our granulated sugar. And then we're just going to cream those two ingredients together for about 3 minutes until light and fluffy. We'll start off on low speed just to kind of get things incorporated a little bit. And then you're gonna bump up the speed a little bit more to really get that butter and sugar cream together. We're going for a really light and fluffy texture, and it's gonna be nice and pale in color. Okay, I'm just gonna stop my mixer and scrape down the sides of the bowl a little bit, just to make sure we're not missing any butter and sugar. Sometimes you wanna scrape down the bottom as well, in case that paddle doesn't get all the way down in there. And then we're gonna run it again. Okay, let's check on our butter and sugar. It is coming along nicely. Almost there. I'm just gonna give it about 30 more seconds to make sure it's nice and creamy. Okay, that looks great. We're gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl one more time. Get everything back down towards the bottom before we add in our eggs. Okay, that is just perfect. Nice and pale, nice and fluffy. So we're gonna go ahead and add in our eggs now. We're gonna add the eggs one at a time to make sure that they get incorporated nicely into that batter. So here goes the first egg. Start off on low speed again so nothing comes splashing out on you. And then you can bump the speed up to about medium. Just want to mix it till all those bright orange bits of egg yolk are incorporated. Okay, we're going to stop our mixer and we're going to add the next egg in and give it another mix. Okay, I like to scrape down my sides of the bowl in between each addition. If you can remember, that just make sure everything is getting incorporated and you're not leaving any bits of egg out. We're gonna add our last egg, and I'm also going to add in our vanilla at this point. So there goes our last egg, and this is our 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And one more mix. Okay, this is looking great. All of the eggs are mixed in. It's totally normal if your batter looks a little bit curdled at this point. It's all gonna come back together nicely once you add your dry ingredients in. So just scrape down the sides of the bowl, make sure that everything has been picked up off the bottom, and we're gonna go ahead and incorporate our dry ingredients. So here we have 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and to that we're gonna add our baking powder and baking soda. And, oh, gotta get it all. Here we go. We have our salt, and then our magic ingredient, your ground nutmeg. This is gonna give those classic powdered sugar donut flavor to this cake. Okay, so I'm just gonna whisk that together really briefly just to get those leaveners mixed in with the flour. And then we're gonna add this to our batter, but we're gonna alternate it with our sour cream and our whole milk. We always wanna start and end with the dry ingredients, so we're gonna put a little bit of the dry ingredients in first. No need to measure, you can just eyeball it. And we're gonna mix that on low speed. And then once it's almost all the way mixed in, the flour, you're gonna give it a stop and you're gonna add in just a splash of your whole milk. Whoop, it's gonna go everywhere. And we're also gonna add our full-fat sour cream. Now, if you don't have sour cream, you can substitute for full-fat Greek yogurt. Try not to use anything that's labeled light. Obviously, don't use anything with flavoring in it, but full-fat Greek yogurt will work in place of sour cream. So I'm gonna give that a little mix. I'm gonna actually pulse my mixer at first because there's liquid in there, it's gonna wanna splash out. So if we just give it a little pulse to start, it helps get those ingredients incorporated so nothing comes splashing out of your mixer. Okay, that looks great. We don't wanna overmix. So I'm gonna lift this back up and we're gonna add in more of our flour, dry ingredients here. I'm gonna reserve just a little bit to go in at the end. I'm gonna mix that together again. Oops. Give it a little pulse. And then mix on low. Great, this is coming together so nicely. You can see how thick and creamy this is. Okay, I'm gonna add in the rest of my whole milk. And we're gonna add in the rest of our sour cream. Make sure you got all that good stuff. And we're gonna pulse this again. It's gonna try to splash out, so give it a good pulse. Keep everything in that bowl. There we go. Mixing it on low. And we're gonna stop right there. Again, being really careful not to overmix our batter because we want this to be a nice, light, fluffy cake. So we're gonna add in the rest of our dry ingredients and give it one final mix. Okay, so you wanna stop your mixer when just a few streaks of flour are remaining. So we don't wanna overdo it. Let me show you what this looks like. Kind of see, it's nice and fluffy, thick, so good. And it smells amazing. It smells like nutmeg, which is just like those donuts. Okay, I'm gonna scrape this paddle off to get all of that good stuff to put into our pan. And then I'm just gonna give the sides of the bowl one more scrape to make sure we got all that flour in there. And make sure that you reach down to the bottom of the bowl to get all of that batter mixed nicely. Okay, our batter looks perfect. And now that it's ready, I'm gonna spray our tube pan with nonstick baking spray. I don't add anything else to it like flour or sugar. I just use the nonstick spray, and I like to do it over the sink because it's kind of messy. Okay, I've coated my pan now in the nonstick baking spray, and you wanna make sure you get the bottom and the sides of the pan nice and generously, but don't add too much baking spray that it starts to pool in the bottom of the pan, because that's just gross. Okay, so we are going to add our batter to the pan. this is the fun part. I'm just gonna get it right in there. I like to kind of twirl it around so you're getting a little bit of batter in all sides of the pan. Oh my gosh, this smells amazing already, and it's not even baked. It smells so much like nutmeg. This is gonna make my kitchen smell like a bakery while it's in the oven. Okay, we're gonna get every last bit of that batter into our pan. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how badly I wanna lick this spatula. Okay, so I'm just smoothing the top with the spatula just to get it nice and even. It's okay if it's a little bit messy. It's perfect. I'm gonna put my tube pan on top of a baking sheet just to make sure it's nice and sturdy in the oven. And we're gonna bake it at 350 degrees for about 45 to 50 minutes. Pro tip for you, if the cake is browning a little too quickly on top at the end of the baking time, place a large piece of aluminum foil over the top of the cake just for about the last 10 minutes of baking. This will make sure that the cake doesn't get too brown on top but is fully baked inside. Okay, our cake is done. What a beauty. Such a beautiful golden brown top. To make sure that your cake is done, just insert a toothpick into the center of the cake and make sure that it comes out clean or with a few crumbs remaining. If it comes out a little bit wet, add a few more minutes onto the baking time. Okay, so we're gonna set our timer and rest the cake in the pan for exactly 10 minutes. Our cake has been resting in the pan for just 10 minutes now, and it's starting to pull away from the sides of the pan nicely. So we're gonna go ahead and lift the tube pan away from the bottom. And there you can see we have this beautiful, perfectly golden brown donut cake. So I'm gonna rest that here on my cake stand for a little bit longer until it cools completely, and then we can go ahead and lift it away from the rest of the pan. So if you prepped your pan perfectly, it should slide right off of the pan through the center. Oh, there we go. Look at that, so pretty. Okay, so we're just gonna take this bottom piece off and slide our cake right onto that cake pan. Look at that, so pretty. So we're gonna melt some butter and then we're gonna top it with our powdered sugar. Okay, we've got our melted butter, our powdered sugar, a nice big sifter, and we have a cool donut cake. So I'm actually gonna take this off of our cake platter and set it right on top of a wire rack that is sitting over a cookie sheet. So that's gonna help us be able to catch all of those little bits of powdered sugar that are gonna go everywhere. So this part can get a little bit messy, but that's half the fun. So get the kids in the kitchen. They will love helping you out with this. So we're gonna start by brushing our cake with this melted butter, and you're gonna brush the sides and the top of the cake all the way around. You wanna work a little bit quickly so that we can get to the fun part, which is sprinkling the cake with that powdered sugar. Oh my gosh, you guys, this cake smells so amazing already. We've added melted butter now on top of that delicious nutmeg scent, and I am in heaven. So good. Okay, this is pretty covered. You just want to make sure you're getting all of the cake covered because that is how the powdered sugar is going to stick to the cake. You could even give a little bit of that butter in the center. Okay, looks good. So now that we've got that covered in the butter, we're just gonna take our powdered sugar, and you kind of just have to go for it. So that's what I'm gonna do. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna put some of this sugar in my sifter, and you've got this cookie sheet catching all of the mess for you. You can go ahead and sprinkle some on the top if you want, but you really wanna do is get to the sides first. So you're gonna take the cake, lift it up through the center, and then you're just gonna rotate it around while you're sifting. I told you it was messy. Yep. This is why you want a completely cool cake. If your cake was warm, you would have a really hard time rotating this cake around in a circle. Okay, so we've got the sides all coated. Give it a little extra. Make sure it sticks on there. And then I'm gonna put it down flat, and I'm gonna really go for it and cover the top. So you really can't see any of the cake. All you see is powdered sugar. So pretty. Okay, I like a lot of powdered sugar. If you don't like this much powdered sugar, feel free to use less. You do you. Okay, I am gonna try to just get a little more. Okay, so I wanted to put this on this, but I don't know how I'm gonna get that on there. So, oh wait, I have an idea. It's a cake lifter. This is perfect. Ooh. Okay, here we go. This better work. And if it doesn't, it'll still be so delicious. This smells amazing, you guys. Okay, this is totally working. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Donut cake. It's time to slice into our cake, and I cannot wait. So let's go for it. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Would you look at that thing of beauty? Oh my goodness. This cake is amazing. Look at the texture on that cake. It's dense, but not too dense. And you can see those little flecks of nutmeg if you look really closely. And it has that nice thick layer of powdered sugar on top, which adds so much sweetness to every single bite. The cake itself is not that sweet, so the powdered sugar on top is perfect. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put that right on our plates. I'll have that one, please. And let's take a second look at this beauty. So good. Hey, who's coming over for dessert? These are just the prettiest slices. And the sponge is so nice on that cake. Okay, I have to try a bite. I have been waiting all morning to try this. Oh, look at that crumb. So much powdered sugar on top, but I love it that way. If you don't like that much powdered sugar, feel free to use less, but I'm telling you, this is excellent. So good. Oh my gosh, you guys, this cake is so outstanding. You have to drop everything and go make it right now. If you want the recipe, you'll find it below in the show notes. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.